Well, Broncos guru, here we are. Another day, another house. So instead of destroying them, what do? Throw them on a little barge, transport them to a new piece of property, and let somebody else rebuild them and put a new foundation down.
Obviously, some situations out on the water are a little more complex than others, just like some of the things we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us down to Florida, where this was the wild scene. This is what happens when wake and wave jumping gets a little out of hand. The story I'm being told at this point in time, the blue boat was out on the water having a great day, enjoying jumping some wakes and waves, when the next thing they know, they actually landed on the yellow boat seen in the images here. Now, fortunately in this situation, no injuries were reported, but as we can see, the struggle does ensue, as the blue boat is actually entangled with the yellow boat, and crews are doing everything they can to try and separate the two vessels. But this situation should serve as a reminder to everybody out there. If you're ever out there on your local waterways and you see some boats or vessels playing around, jumping wakes and waves, especially in tight, compact waterways, do everything in your power to stay away from that boat. You just never know how that situation is going to end. You want to make sure to protect yourself, your family, and your equipment, and always exercise extreme caution when out there on the water. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us down to Queensland, Australia, where this was the scene just a little over a week ago, when a boater returned back from a day out on the water to find somebody had parked their car, blocking his truck and trailer in a parking spot. Now, fortunately, this boater was able to get his vehicle and trailer wedged out after some maneuvering, but frustration set in, and our guy went ahead and hooked up a tow line to the Toyota and drug it all the way out of the parking lot, out onto the road, leaving it out there and out of the way of other boaters at the ramp. Local authorities and residents both claim this is an exceptionally busy boat ramp, and it's not uncommon on weekends to see people arguing all the time over parking spaces because there's just not enough for the amount of people who use this. Local police say there are signs all around this boat ramp saying that these spaces are only reserved for trucks with trailers and no cars that'll park in them, but still it's a consistent issue that happens. But local authorities do encourage, do not take matters into your own hands. If you have an issue, let them know. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to bring us back to Florida, where this was the scene this week down in Key Largo, when three friends decided to go out on a spear diving trip, when one of the members decided they were going to go down for one last dive before they left. After several minutes of being down, the diver never resurfaced. The two quickly alerted the Coast Guard and local family members of the diver's disappearance, and a search and rescue mission was launched. The diver apparently was about 35 foot when all of a sudden a strong current grabbed him and actually pulled him almost a mile away from the original dive site. Fortunately, he was able to rest on top of a reef for a brief period and actually was able to find two buoys and rig together a makeshift raft. This is the scene though where the actual family found the young man almost 2 miles away from the original scene just before nightfall. This really is a miraculous story. We don't see a lot of stories like this end in this manner, but fortunately, due to the diligence of his family being able to quickly jump in a boat, get out to the scene and do a search with the Coast Guard and rescue the diver so he did not have to spend the night in the ocean. The family did alert the Coast Guard they found their son, and the Coast Guard quickly joined them, did a quick medical exam on the diver to make sure he was okay before they released him to the family. Our next story is going to take us up to British Columbia, and it's kind of what we led off with today as well, and that's going to be a home being loaded onto a barge in British Columbia to be moved to a different location.
Broncos guru, as promised, here we are. Another night, another house. It's not every day you get to see a large house being loaded onto a barge.
These stories are always interesting ones to me, and it happens quite a bit up in Canada, it seems, where these people will buy lots of land on waterways up in Canada, and instead of destroying the home, somebody will actually take the home, as we see here, put it on a barge and move it to a different location. Always a fun one to watch. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Lando's Down Under, Priscilla Gartenmayer, Picasso West, and Adam Coolidge did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.